Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Oh, good. Okay.
Hello.
Hi. Hi, Steve.
Just
Hi,
had to get
Rob.
the right mic on.
Just let Kate in, but I don't know what's happening. Hold on. Let's see.
There she comes.
Okay. Oh, man.
Alexis, do you want to pause the recording?
Oh, yeah.
You have to make a host too.
Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us today. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Alexis Conley, Bridgewater class of 99 and MBA 14, double bear. And I am the Assistant Director of Alumni Relations at the university. On behalf of our office, I would like to welcome you to today's virtual Aluminar about camping and hiking with Kate Naples, class of 1990. Before we begin, there are a few important housekeeping items that I'd like to address in order to make this a great Zoom experience for everyone involved. First and foremost, I must mention that this presentation will be recorded for future use. In the top right corner of your screen, you will see two viewing options, full screen and speaker view. May we suggest the speaker view for optimal viewing? Throughout the presentation, please keep your own screen muted and with the video off at all times as not to distract from our presentation. Question and answer will take place immediately following the talk. Please feel free to type in questions at any time during the presentation using the chat feature in the middle of your bottom toolbar. Questions will be collected and answered in the order that they are received. We thank you for your attention to these guidelines, and it is with great pleasure that I'd like to introduce you to our guest host, Dr. Robert Bradley. Rob Bradley is the head of Bridge Research at State Street Associates, a team that bridges the gap between empirical finance research and practice. He is co-chair of the Bridgewater State University Employee Network at State Street and is on the board of State Street's Numerous Network. He is also a part-time faculty member at Boston College and Northeastern University. He holds a bachelor's degree in economics from Bridgewater State University, class of 2012, where he also majored in English, and a master's degree in applied economics from Northeastern University, 2014. And Rob just completed his PhD in applied economics at Northeastern, class of 2020. Rob lives in Bridgewater with his wife and 3 sons. Take it away, Rob.
Thank you, Alexis, and thanks everybody for joining. I see some familiar names, no faces, but familiar names on the list and some new folks here. I'm really excited for today's talk. Obviously, it's timely as ever. I am actually ready to go pretty much after this is done to take my boys outside and go for a walk through the woods. This has inspired me already, so I'm excited to hear what Kate has to say. Kate Naples, class of 1990, is all about new experiences. When her youngest child was 3, the family didn't head to Disney for a vacation. No, instead, it was all about the great outdoors, hiking New Hampshire's White Mountains, as well as parts of the Appalachian Trail. After seeing the movie Wild in 2015, Kate asked her now teenage children if they would like to join her on a 10-day hike through Maine's 100-mile wilderness. To her delight and just a bit of surprise, they said yes. And that's when her knowledge, expertise, and practical skills relating to all things hiking evolved. From the needed gear and maps to the ability to pivot when life or the weather gods throw a curveball, hiking is Kate's passion. With spring just around the corner, zoom in and get her tips, suggestions, and solid advice on how to hike and camp in the mountains safely and successfully. Kate earned her degree from Bridgewater State in speech communications and public relations. She ran cross country and track for 3 years and spent 1 year in Montreal as a study abroad student at Concordia University. I was unable to take classes in my major, but I came away functional in French. That is a really useful skill, Kate. As somebody who also exchanged in Canada, you got more out of it than I did, I think, in terms of practical skills. At the age of 50, she became a proud member of the 4,000 Footer Club, completing all 48 peaks in New Hampshire's White Mountains between 2016 and 2017, the vast majority of them solo. So with that impressive bio, and clear credentials. Kate, I will ask you to take it away.
Hi, I'm Kate. And let me just, whoops, let me just get a little more into where I'm supposed to be looking at you, or me, or everybody. Here I am. All right, I'm going to share some pictures, but first let me get a little more into the detail of that. Rob was very good in telling you what my background is, but I'll even go further back. I was a Girl Scout when I was very young. And when we were Girl Scouts, we went camping, and our first challenge was to camp in the snow. We did that pretty well, tackled that. And as an adult, I had one child, and we went camping in a KOA, which is not so hard. Then as time went on, I ended up having 3 kids. So when my kids were 3, 5, and 7, we went for our first hike. And 3, 5, and 7. And a friend of mine a long time ago said, "Oh, Mount Washington's a great mountain to hike." So I figured, well, my husband is going golfing. I'll bring the kids up to New Hampshire to go hike Mount Washington at age 3, 5, and 7. So I park at the Pinkham Notch and we go hiking. And I had the carriage, the $10 carriage. And I had juice boxes and crackers, and I carried the children. Oh, and then it became an area where there's snow. Anyway, so it was a challenging hike to get to the hermit huts, which was a 2-hour hike with a 3, 5, and 7. I ended up carrying 1 or 2 of the kids in the carriage and everything else. So as time progressed, I got a little more background, a little more knowledge. I ended up planning trips for my family and 2 other families with mixed personalities and mixed abilities. On one of the trips with the 14 people of the 3 families, we hiked all of the families up some crazy trails. And I ended up piggybacking my then 13-year-old niece that has hemicerebral palsy. She made it to the hut at Lakes in the Clouds on Mount Washington. That was really an accomplishment for all 14 of us, including my niece, to get up there. Fast forward, then I ended up, I believe it was 2015, 2016, I watched the movie Wild with the lady Cheryl Strayed that hiked the PCT. And from watching that, I asked the boys if anybody wanted to go hiking the 100-mile wilderness in Maine. So anyway, it took me about 8 months of gathering all the equipment to go for this magnificent hike in Maine that was going to take us 10 days. Turns out about 2 weeks before the hike, my oldest son ended up breaking his wrist, so he didn't think he could go. So it was my other son, my middle son, and we ended up, it was going to be Mid-State Massachusetts Trail, which goes from through Massachusetts, but from the New Hampshire border to the Rhode Island border. I did significant research in like 4 days, and then we decided the campgrounds weren't open yet because it was still May. So we ended up, let's do the Pemigewasset Wilderness, which starts in Lincoln, New Hampshire. So that's the one that we ended up starting, and it was a beautiful day, Mother's Day weekend in May that year, 2017. And we started up, we got to some real elevation, I'm going to say 4,800 feet. And it was like 70 degrees, sunny, beautiful day. And we descended to, from the 4,800 feet, we descended to 4,000 feet. And we camped at 4,000 feet. And overnight, it went from like 70 degrees down to 30. We woke up to snow. And we had to figure out how to get down the mountain with all our gear and everything that we were not expecting. We were expecting 5 days in the mountains. Anyway, so from that, we learned that you have to have adequate gear. So from that, this story here, let me share some gear. Share the screen, bring it up. Okay, do you see this? You see this. All right, so this is one of our backpacks. You have to camp, you have to hike in with all your gear for, say, let's say 3 to 5 days of hiking. Need the tent, You need the sleeping bag. That's the most important thing, and all the rest of the gear inside the bag. And when I have these bags packed right here, they don't have food in it and they don't have clothes in it. So what I'm going to show you is just the bags with the gear on in it. Let me move over. Here's another one. This is mine. This is my tent. My sleeping bag is in the bag that you can't tell that I have on, but I have a cup here and I have a bubble for underneath my sleeping bag. So it's not sleeping on a wooden block, because it's wooden. It's a wooden platform that you're sleeping on when you're high in the mountains. All right, so here I have the gear all laid out. And again, like I said, what's in the bag, right? What's laid out here is just the gear, not the clothing and not the food. You have to plan for each of the days that you're out there. But when you're actually hiking and going campsite to campsite, you're only hiking in those clothes, and then you change into dry clothes. And then you hike in the same clothes you wore yesterday, and then you get in the dry clothes that you wore yesterday, the day before. Anyway, so we have a sleeping bag. The gear I have here this is my son's bag, and I will show you all three of our bags. We all have the same kind of gear, yet a little different. We all have a backpack, we all have a water bottle, we all have a cooking device, various kinds. This is my oldest son Liam's bag. This is this backpack right here is for 30 degrees. This water bottle has its own filter inside of it, kind of like a Brita. This right here is his cooking device. This right here I will bring to our attention shortly. Now I'm going to say something very important. I was doing a hike that was hut to hut to hut. I went to 3 different huts up in the mountains, and I pack all my things, my clothing, all in Ziploc bags. And the reason that I put them in bags, is Ziploc bags, and zip them real tight, airtight, is because you never know. You're going to be sweating your butt off, and any of the sweat might get in your backpack and your clothes are going to get wet. Or typical of the high mountains, it's going to rain. It's going to rain. It's going to rain. To have your clothes in a trash bag, then you will have dry clothes. That's why we have a trash bag right here. Okay, let's move on to another picture. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit, if I can find that little. Oh, I can't find it right now. Let's move along to the next picture. This is Liam's backpack. We have a backpack, we have a tent, we have a sleeping bag, we have a tin cup. The Jetboil cooking device, his is called a Jetboil, and it has a different kind of fuel. It's not propane. It's a different kind of fuel that the Jetboil requires. We got pots and pans to put on the cooking device to cook water. Usually you're just cooking water so you can have tea or coffee, the coffee tea bag, or you can have ramen. Other people are a little more creative, but I stick to real basic, easy, simple. Maybe you get sick of it, but I stick real easy. There's a little cup in case you want to just drink water out of a cup instead of a water bottle. I have matches. I have actually a match holder that's for keeping matches dry, but the matches in these pictures here, I believe they're in Ziploc. See, it's in a Ziploc. Keep everything in Ziplocs because I don't want things to get wet. I have 2 sets of spoon fork. I have a metal spoon and fork, and then I have a spork, because it has been known that you lose stuff in your bag. Kind of like the dryer loses socks, the backpack loses some of your things. I have 2 flashlights over here too for that same purpose. The headlamp is most useful, but the little one is also very useful because that's actually a very powerful one. Okay, so 2 flashlights, a headlamp. I bring toilet paper. I'm going to come back to the toilet paper thing, Steve. All right, and then I bring bandanas because bandanas can be used as like rope or a string or to mark your spot when you walk off the trail to go to the bathroom. And again, we'll get back to that. That goes back to the little shovel thing. I always have a poncho in the backpack because it's gonna rain. If you have a good raincoat, it's good, but I sweat and I get hot in my raincoat. So the poncho is the best thing. I'll show you a better picture. Oh, we bring a face cloth and a soap just in case the water is good enough to use. You can use soap and water, soap with water in certain sources of water out there. Not every pond, not every lake, not every running water wants you to use. You will find that out as you go along, which ones will be able to use, let you use soap in it. The Frontier Life Straw, which is, and in his bag, he has a tarp for underneath his tent. This backpack here, let me show you. He didn't have the tent attached, but his tent is a one-man tent. It's very, very small, and you feel like you're in a box. He doesn't love it, but he does use it when he's used it twice. Okay, so I'm going to come to this shovel. And the shovel, each one of us, all three of us, all the three backpacks have a shovel. The shovel is so that you can go number 2 outside along the trail. Yeah, you have to take 50 paces off trail, and then you take care of business, but you have to dig a hole that's 12 inches deep and bury your poop. So that's why you have a shovel, and you have it on the exterior of your backpack, so it's really handy. Oh, we have used this. Yes. This is this Jetboil. This is how you boil water. You collect the water in here, and this kind of fuel is very, very fast. It lights fast. It boils water fast. This is a very good machine for cooking. Very good. We still have the instructions. I kept them in case anybody wants to know. All right, this is the Frontier water filter. You can put your water in the water bottle, and as you suck out of the straw, it filters the water. It works. It's good. Liam has drank out of a pond. Andy has drank out of a running stream with this filter. Okay, this is Connor's backpack, and he has a it's a, I think this is a 2-man tent. He didn't like the 1-man tent. It was way too claustrophobic for him. So the 2-man tent is a good tent for him. He has a 30-degree sleeping bag as well. We all have bubble jackets, because when it may be 70 degrees while you're hiking, but when you stop and your blood temperature comes down, you're gonna need the jacket. You're gonna need the jacket. Every time I go hiking, I'm sweating all the way up. It can be August, and I'm sweating on my way up. I get to the top and I sit down for a snack. Sure enough, I gotta put the bubble jacket on. Okay, Connor has a different stove. This is an MSR, and I'll open up, here's the pots and pans. I'll open up in a second, but again, Connor has he has the bandanas, and he has bungee cords. Again, the trash bag. All right, so move along. His list. And we'll move to his, this is the Msr cooking device. And again, this is a different kind of fuel. But this one too works fast, and we had a competition of whose went faster. The Jetboil went faster than the MSR, but both of them went faster than, I had a Boy Scout one made out of tin, and a sterno lamp. Oh, that was painfully slow. This is how small it comes down to, this MSR little box. It's very small. This whole thing goes in there, and it works very, very good. There's the metal cup. Okay, so come along. Here's Connor's. This is his life straw. Liam's was a Frontier. This is a life straw. And again, it works like Brita, where you put it in, and as you suck out of your straw, it filters the water. Connor has drank out of the pond. This is, oh, I have the Jetboil too. I have like a couple different devices. But when I go deep, this is the one I'm going to take. Meaning deep is when you're not camping out of your car at the KOA. The KOA campground, you camp right out of your car, and I basically am working out of my car. I don't always take my clothes out of the car, but I sleep in the tent. Definitely sleep in a tent. Okay, and I'll elaborate on the tent thing in a little bit. So this is my cooking device. Okay, moving on. Okay, so this is my stuff. This is my tent is a 3-man tent. I like to spread my stuff out when I go camping. And again, the bubbles to go underneath my sleeping bag. My sleeping bag is a 30, wait a minute, it was a, no, it's a 0 degrees sleeping bag. I have slept when it was 20 degrees. I have camped in very cold weather. It's just another challenge. Okay, I have to have gloves. I have, among my things, I have at least 3 pairs of gloves every time I go camping, every time I go hiking. Because you never know, 1 degree may put me over the top. I have Raynaud's on my finger. My fingers lose circulation. So I have to have different thicknesses of gloves with me. Okay, so I have a flashlight that's a very small one. And this one actually is it's an accordion. It opens and it turns on, and then you close it and it turns off. It's pretty handy dandy. This is my poncho. I don't have the little thing that makes me come in, but anyway, my poncho, I can't find it. Oh, and I have a whistle. Oh, let me tell you the story. Let me tell you this great story. I have a whistle because in case something scary comes along, like you never know, a deer or a bear or one of those mythical creatures called a moose. I've hiked really deep and I've camped really deep. And while I was camping and hiking, people asked me, aren't you afraid of these scary creatures? And I'm like, no. So one time I was just a day hike. I was doing a 9-hour hike, a 4.5 hour in, 4.5 hour out, just to tag a mountain. And I was doing a river crossing. I had my shoes in one hand and my backpack in the other hand, walking over the water. I sit down on the other side of the water and put things down and putting my shoes back on, and crashing through the trees into the water is a moose. And it scared the daylights out of me, scared the daylights out of him. And I had no whistle on me. I had no camera. No one knows. This is like a fishing story. No, this is real. I really saw a moose. It came so close, I could see the brown fur on his back, which was rough looking, like a Brillo pad. And he was so scared of me, like I was scared of him. I shrieked, and he turned around like, whoa, 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 lady, I'm going to turn around. So he went crashing back out of the water just as quickly as he came back in, but his legs are so long. That was really scary. I didn't have the whistle on me, but nowadays I always hike with that whistle on me. That's my story about the mythical creature called a moose. And the toilet paper. Okay, oh, and here's my water bottle. This is a different kind of filter where you, is this the one? This is the one you put the water, you put it in the water as it's in there and you leave it in there, but then before you put the top on, you take the water filter out. So it takes about 10 minutes to clean the water, this little filter right here. Okay, so I'm gonna move along. Okay, this is what I have in the backpack for after hiking. Okay, I hike up to a hut, or I hike up to a hut, or I hike to camp, and I take off pretty much almost everything to get into dry clothes. I get into a dry t-shirt, a dry long sleeve, a dry other long sleeve. These two are technology, they wick away. But when I'm trying to cool off, I take off everything and I put on the cotton first, then the 2 wickaways that actually keeps your heat in, and then the sweatshirt. And this is a different pair of leggings. I put on sandals so your feet can air out. There's 2 pairs of socks because you never know. If it's cold out, you want to air out your feet, yes, but you also want to put on a pair of socks so your feet don't freeze. I've been at a hut where it was raining and crappy weather, and I had to get out of all my wet clothes, and I got into my dry clothes, and then I had to put on both pairs of socks because it was that cold in the hut. But another person who showed up at the hut did not have his stuff in a Ziploc or in a trash bag. He just had his clothes in his backpack. Every single clothing item was soaking. All he could do was buy a shirt from the little kiosk that you can buy from, a shirt. And he had, I mean, it was very cold in there. It was like 30 degrees. He just had a t-shirt. The poor guy didn't plan ahead. You got to make sure that you always have your stuff in Ziplocs or in the trash bag. Okay, so this is what I usually start with wearing. Here, let's move along. I wear a skirt. It's a skirt that's shorts. And reason being is the shorts they cling to you so that you don't end up with any kind of rash between your legs. And the skirt provides ample air. I have a half cotton, half polyester undergarment here. This is just a cotton t-shirt that's very thin. Tank top, I'm sorry, for the bottomest layer. The next layer is wick-away that's short sleeve, and 2 layers of wick-away technology, long sleeve, just to keep the heat in. This is what I start with. And a vest, and a sweatshirt, and nice thick socks. And these boots right here, these are waterproof boots. And the actual good thing of the waterproof boots is not just so that nothing gets in there, but when I was doing that water crossing, I dropped one and it didn't go in the water. It stayed on top of the water. That was a very good thing. Okay, so here's more stuff that's in my bag when I get to a hut, or I get to either the hut or to my campsite. The other things I have in there are also a bandana. I have a small first aid kit. I have, this is actually 3 pairs of gloves. This is my bubble coat. I don't remember what that is. And this is a poncho. And you always have to have a poncho. All right, so there's different backpacks I wear for different occasions. This is actually going hut to hut. So when you go hut to hut in the mountains, it's like, maybe 3 to 5 hours to get to the hut, and then you change your clothes. You at the huts, when you stay with the Appalachian Mountain Club on the top of the mountain at 4,000 feet, say, they provide you with breakfast and they provide you with supper and a bed. You're in very, very close quarters, so they're not open during any of this COVID thing. You can't stay in any of the huts because you're literally in a room with bunk beds that go 4 high, 4 high, 4 high, 4 high. There's like 16 people in your room. Anyway, so you have a change of clothes and you have your snacks for the course of the day. And the first aid kit and whatever else you might need. The water, you got to definitely bring a bunch of water. I'm going to go ahead and see, this is the backpack when I when I go hut to hut. It's a big backpack. These are the 2 different backpacks. So this one's hut to hut. This is my day backpack. So say I'm going to go do the Franconia Ridge for a day, or I'm going to go hike Musalaki for a day, or I'm going to go do a day adventure. It could be anywhere from 4 to 10 hours. I'm going to carry this backpack. This can carry 4 water bottles, and we're talking like this size water bottle, or any of the regular kind of water bottles. I'll get to the water bottle thing. But anyway, it carries 4 water bottles and 2 Gatorades, a bunch of different foods. It usually has a pair of socks in it, my bubble coat. It has a change of a long sleeve shirt. When I get to the top of the mountain for the summit, I stay at the summit anywhere from 5 to 15 minutes. And I change out of the wet clothes immediately, the wet top, and I put on the coat. I take off the wet, sweaty shirt. I put on another shirt and the bubble coat. So I have a lot of different things in this little backpack. Definitely the water, definitely the food, and definitely the changes of clothes, and the 4 pairs of different kinds of mittens, gloves, and the first aid kit. So here's the different water sources, the water holders that I have. So this is a Camelback. This is a really good thing. When I was doing distance running, this thing here was absolutely the best. I like to carry more than just water and a couple of snacks. I like candy. I like eating candy and trail mix when I'm hiking. And these pockets are big, but I probably bring a lot. So this is not enough for me. I probably eat too much. Okay, so this is a regular water bottle, and this is another regular water bottle. And this is the thing that I have right here, this little guy here. And you fill the water with the regular Acadia water. These two are unnecessary. You don't need these kind of things. This is for like tea. This does keep your tea or tea bag coffee very hot for a very long time. I've done a long hike with one of these in my backpack. It's a considerable amount of weight. You don't really want to be carrying that for very long. Yeah. I have a solar panel that I carried for a 10-hour hike. It's a 5-hour to the top of the summit and 5-hour back. And the solar panel, I'll never carry that far again. The solar panel was so that you can charge up the phone. And it wasn't worth carrying the solar panel. For the phone, for the radio, for the music, nah, it wasn't even worth it. Okay, so this is Liam's backpack. I don't know why it's at the end of the pack. Okay, so that's Liam's. I think that's the last one on that pack. All right, let me get the other pictures. Okay, so now I'm going to go to these pictures. Open. All right, so here's my mountain.
You want to stop sharing what you got now, Kate?
Oh,
And then
sharing.
yeah, stop sharing. Now open up your other pictures, the maps, and then share it.
oh, okay, thank you.
Well,
That was an airhead move, sorry. I can't zoom in because I don't have that feature on this. I can't find the zoom. Can I get rid of this up here?
can I?
Um,
You can change your view maybe. But if not, we can. I mean, we can at least see the map.
okay, so if you really get close to the map, I just know where everything is on the map. This right here is the Pemigewasset Wilderness. I can't find that zoom thing that I did before. Okay, anyway, so the mountains that are my favorites to do are the Pemigewasset Wilderness, which is all these. This is the Franconia Ridge. Right here, this is Musalaki. So this summer, I'm going to be, if I'm not mistaken, this is like Lincoln right here. And you go in to Lincoln Woods, which is 9 miles off of exit 32 in New Hampshire. And you park at Lincoln Woods and you hike. And you hike in an hour and then you're deep. And you can hike any of these. I'll tell you a quick story. How am I doing for time? I'm doing good. Okay. This summer, I'm going to be going to do the whole Pemigewasset Wilderness in 3 nights, 4 days. And it's carrying everything for that many days. This area here. This is going up to the highest mountain is 5,288 feet, I believe, Lafayette. And going all the way over here, which is Garfield, and then the Twins. And then you got Geo, and Geo is a campsite, and the Bonds. And there's a great view on one of the Bonds out there. And then it's a whole lot of wilderness and nothing out here. Although people have seen moose, I have done this a couple different times, probably 4 times, and I haven't seen anything, even barely a squirrel or a chipmunk in this little area here. That's very, very deep. You're very deep in the woods. Anyway, so that's that. Let's see if I can see something else here. Hold on. Oh, okay. Oh, so here's my tent. Can you see this?
You didn't
Hopefully.
change.
It
It didn't change.
didn't change. All right, stop that. And then hold on, let me
Kate, this is what it sounds like when I'm teaching. I'm constantly clicking in and out of things like, can you see it? Can you not see it?
can you see it? All right, so then I say that it's not weird. Okay, can you see 2 tents?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, so these are the two tents that I generally have. This one here, this is my Jer tent. I call it Jer. It's green, but it's G-E-R. Jer is my grandfather's name. I don't think he camped a day of his life, but I like to think he's with me. Anyway, this is a 3-man tent. This is the tent I carry to go deep into the woods. And in this tent, when I go deep, if I'm hiking in 7 hours and then sleeping overnight in the tent and coming back, I'm just carrying Jir, and I'm carrying 2 fleece blankets and my sleeping bag. I may or may not bring the bubbles because the bubble thing doesn't always, it's not the most comfortable thing. They lie when they say it's really comfortable. So I bring 2 fleece blankets, I fold them in half, and you're sleeping very stiff when you're sleeping in, when I sleep in Jir. But when I sleep in this tent, this is a big tent. This is my condominium tent. When I sleep at a KOA, when I camp at a KOA, this fits actually a 6-foot man, the long way. I have a canopy over it, so in case it rains, I have a canopy, so it's raining on the canopy, not on my tent, and it's not going to get in. And inside sometimes, if I'm going to be camping for 2 to 3 nights at a certain campground, I cheat and I have an air mattress. But I'm not always staying somewhere for 2 to 3 days. I'm often just doing 1 night here, 1 night there. So this is my Jir tent. So if this has a name, then this is Bo. Bo is blue. BEAU is the beautiful big tent. These are my tents. I don't know if I can move on to the, oh, can you see that one? Hopefully. This is my tent site. When I go camping at a KOA, this is when I go to a KOA, I have everything. I say I'm camping out of my car because I don't have to carry everything. But I have my big tent, I have my canopy, I bring 2 chairs, I have a fire. This is my other cooking device. This is my favorite cooking device. This is a butane tank, and this is a 1 burner. So it's like you're cooking at home because you have the burner. It's like a gas stove. This is my favorite because this thing lights very quickly, very easily. I've cooked everything on this. I cook corn on the fire. I make tea, I make pancakes. What else do I make? I make eggs. I cook all my things. And hot dogs. No, I cook hot dogs on the fire. Yeah. So this is my favorite cooking device. This butane 1 burner thing. You can get this at Bass Pro. And I usually have 2, see how I have 2 coolers? One's actually camping gear and one's actually for the food. And each time I go camping, all my food is measured in how much I'm actually bringing, how much I'm actually eating. And that way I go home with a near empty, if not empty cooler. That's always thinking. And here you can see, I don't know if this is actually it, but it looks like my peanut butter. And anybody knows me, when I go hiking deep or hiking for a whole day, say 5 to 10 hours of hiking, my lunch is usually peanut butter in a Ziploc with a spoon. Yes, I have hiked with people who have sandwiches and Ziplocs. I have hiked with a father and son who I walked with for 3 days. They had a whole pound of roast beef, a pound of ham, a pound of American cheese, and a triangle pound of Parmesan cheese. Then they have the bulky rolls, and they were cutting it and making a nice sandwich on the top of the mountain while I'm eating peanut butter out of my Ziploc bag and trail mix out of my Ziploc bag. And I have circus peanuts. These are things that I eat when I go hiking. Circus peanuts and starlight mints, anything that's small and easy to carry. So anyway, what else do I have? This is the last of the big pictures I have to show you. I wanted to actually zoom in, but I can't find that feature on this picture here.
If you hover above, do you get the toolbar to come up? Because we do see the plus and minus.
Yeah, I have it on the tent one, but not on my
Other ones.
not on my other one because I have this whole bar here of the video and the participants and the share. So I can't zoom in. I totally apologize for that. Okay, maybe I should ask for questions. I can't see any words or anything, like anybody saying anything.
Yep, so I'm monitoring. So for anybody who's here, if you have any questions for Kate, feel free to ask them in the chat. I'll monitor that and see what comes through. I've written down so many things, Kate, while you were talking. I have about 8,000 notes for myself.
Oh, okay, very good.
And the first thing, it's funny that you started with your Mount Washington story about how you got going. Well, first of all, the fact that as a Girl Scout, they asked you to go camp in the snow. I did the Boy Scouts for a little while, and they basically asked us to camp at a campground. I was like, I've done this before. so they gave you a much bigger challenge than I had. But that Mount Washington story is amazing because my sons are 6, 4, and 2. And I would love to do that with them, but also hearing you, it's like, yeah, that would be a lot of work. They would all want me to carry them all at the same time.
Let me tell you also to carry on with that story, if you like that one. I ended up carrying two and the 3-year-old and the 5-year-old on one hip and pulling the carriage. And when we finally got down the mountain, I said, oh, we're going to have ice cream. And it's just, like a half an hour drive to the Dairy Queen. We get to the Dairy Queen and my youngest was asleep, but I couldn't tell the boys no. So we dashed out. Leaving her, we gotta have ice cream. And then later we had cleaned up at where we were staying and we went to go eat supper. But because I had carried these two all day, lugging these guys, I went to go eat and I could barely lift my hands to eat the food.
Oh my gosh, I can only imagine what that would feel like. That all sounds very familiar, but that's amazing. So we're having some questions come through here. These are great questions. So Sue asked, what kind of training do you recommend to get ready for a 4,000 footer hike? So maybe not the whole thing, but maybe part of that, maybe the part of the hike that you were mentioning.
I'd say get used to walk long. If you can walk an hour, I would say maybe make it, if you regularly walk an hour, I'd say find a day on the weekend to walk 2 hours. I'd say walk on the beach for an hour. Add that in there. I'm talking like try to do 5 days a week where you're doing at least an hour and then throw in a 2-hour hike. Go up to Blue Hills up in Canton. Give yourself a little bit of challenge and hike with the backpack. Definitely hike with some weight in your bag. My bag is probably a little heavy just because I like to eat. I like to pull stuff out as I go.
That would be me.
I'm a Ziploc lady, so I have everything in Ziplocs. So I would just say, get your endurance up as if you're training for a half marathon. Ask Steve. He's gone for a hike or two with me, and he knows you have to train.
Definitely have to train. What she's recommending, Blue Hills is a good close one. I don't know if anybody's in Rhode Island. Diamond Hill over there is pretty good. Just watch out. It's kind of got a lot of litter and glass on it, but any type of elevation and just walking, strength and endurance. As she said, I've done 7 4,000 footers. I think 3 or 4 of them with Kate and my son, who's on the call today as well.
That's really helpful. I like the idea of also walking on the beach, because anybody who's walked on the beach knows that's quite a workout.
It's kind of hard, yeah.
Yeah. So Alexis, I was going to ask the same question to Alexis. So what's a good first hike for someone who's just getting started? Would you recommend, is Blue Hills a good place to start?
Yes.
There you go.
Blue Hills is definitely a good place. You can go up the back trail near where they have the animals. You can't go in to visit the animals anymore, but they do have that trail right there. You can go straight up the ski run. You can go up that and walk around the top. There's a blue trail up there. I gotta say that if you go anything off of the main, main blue dot, it's poorly marked. And I live in Taunton, where I went to the Massasoit State Park yesterday with my daughter, and we went for an hour and a half walk up there. And we pulled up a map, but it's poorly marked. You got to be aware of these places that are poorly marked. The AT, anything in New Hampshire, I got to say, is very well marked.
That's helpful to know. I mean, I honestly, like I was saying to you when we first talked, that I take my boys out just to walk around just the area of the woods. We are experts at turning a 10-minute hike into a 45-minute, I say hike, 10-minute walk into a 45-minute walk. The 2-year-old helps with that. But around here, there are even just very short trails where, my sons love following the markings and being the leaders and stuff. And we very quickly are like, okay, where are we? So it's good to hear that at least in New Hampshire where you are.
Oh, wait, most important, I forgot to tell you, this is a GPS.
Somebody asked a question about this. How do people know where you are? Do you
Oh my
people where you're
goodness, this is
going?
the most important piece
Oh,
of
Steve.
equipment. This is like $250 worth of the most important thing. This thing here, right? Talk to Steve. I went on a 3-day mountain hike, right? 3 days in the woods. Like, I'm all by myself. I hike solo. I'm not 18 and I'm not with a group. I am like up there, and this is very valuable. However, when you get up in the high mountains, this thing here can tell you there is an SOS on there if you fall down and hurt yourself, but you can get to the summit of a mountain. This is what I do is I have people in here. It's kind of like my phone where you have contacts. I have contacts in my GPS. And when I get to the summit of every mountain, this is in reach.
In reach. Thank you.
In reach. Yeah, this thing is awesome. And this is from Maine. They make this in Maine. And so I get to the top of the summit of every mountain and I text in. It's the one where you have to do all the different letters. A, move it over. C, move it over. Anyway, but it's this, you tell whoever is on your list where you are. I made it to the summit. It was in 5 hours. When I went to the 3-day hike, the first day at the hut where I went to, it was such bad weather up in like Mount Madison. It was very, very bad weather. This could not send a message. So the only way I could tell anybody, I have to stay here. I couldn't even move on to my next hut the next day because the weather was so bad. So the hut had to tell the Appalachian Mountain Club that, oh, these members here are staying here for the night. But I had told all my people, I will tell you where I am. And if this doesn't come in, then that means something's wrong or something has changed. So anyway, my friend here, Steve, he contacted the Appalachian Mountain Club and says, wait a minute, Kate's not telling me where she is. She's supposed to have done 3 mountains already. So the Appalachian Mountain Club says, oh, well, it's crappy weather up the top of the mountain. It's like 75-mile-an-hour winds. She stayed put. So, and the cloud level, the clouds, you couldn't even see 5 feet in front of you. So I stayed put. So in 48 hours after I changed my plan, it was 48 hours after I was supposed to be at the first hut. I was on the top of Mount Washington. That was the first time. It was clear as clear could be. You could see 100 miles. This thing here, I texted everybody on this. I told everybody on this, everything's good. I got stuck bad weather. You have to talk very, very briefly. It was bad weather. I'm on Mount Washington, beautiful day. And this told everybody I'm all good. You can talk to Steve, he knows.
You're a good friend.
I went on Katahdin too, and I told them all, I'm like, I'm here, I was trying to get into Katahdin and at Baxter State Park, I'm sorry. And when I arrived, you have to have a parking pass to get into Baxter. Nobody told me. So here I was ready to go. I even bought a shirt. So I went to at 5 o'clock in the morning, I got to the line to get into Baxter. And here I was walking with my tea in my hand and walking around my tea. And I asked people, how are you getting in? How are you getting in? So resourceful me, I just had my backpack on my back. And I said, hey, you gonna have empty seat in your car? You got an empty seat? So I bummed a ride into Baxter State Park to the trailhead. I got dropped off and I was able to, first I told everybody I can't do Katahdin. And then the day that after I got in and got on the mountain, I told them plan B, I bummed a ride. And then the next message was I'm at the summit of Katahdin. I had made it because I was awful resourceful. But then I got down and then I had to figure out how to get back to my car, which was at the gate. So again, I had to kind of, there's only one way in and one way out of Baxter. So everybody bums a ride.
There you go.
Can I
So
just add?
people are ready for you.
I just want to add to her the GPS. Also, an important thing to do is leave an itinerary, either at home. Actually, I've read what you want to do is definitely tell people at home what you're doing and your exact routes, but also sometimes leave an itinerary in your car, because God forbid if somebody has to go back to your car, there's an itinerary in there. Always try to have, let 2 or 3 others know you're going deep into the woods. This is what you're doing. And then God forbid somebody has to go do a search party. It helps the search parties in the mountains. Hey, in 2 or 3 days, they're at this location here.
And this has it has an SOS down the bottom if you fall down and hurt yourself.
So do not lose that.
No, you always have, you have to have it charged.
Yes, bring the batteries.
There you go. This is all very good practical advice. I was wondering how much do those backpacks weigh? Like especially the kind of fully stocked backpack. Have you ever weighed that and seen how much it is?
The first time I went out, I know it weighed 50 pounds. It was way too much. I know I carried too much. It should be, I think it's supposed to be a third of your weight. A third of your weight. I think that's something like that. So I'm going to say like 38 to 42 pounds. And that's going heavy. I know a lot of people who carry practically nothing, but I like
Right.
to have, I like to have my stove and, candy.
Some of it, I was gonna say, some of it seems like, from your experience, you start at one place and then you kind of figure out what works for you, right? Not just
Yes.
what other people recommend.
Right.
That makes sense. Kathy's asking, as a female, did you feel safe? Do you feel safe?
Every minute. Every minute. While I may be solo, if I sat still for, I go way in there. I can sit still for like 5 minutes and people go by. I was way deep. I stayed one night I hiked in 5 hours. I stayed in a hut and I hiked 4 more hours. I was getting to a campsite and I went like an extra mile, an extra little bit of time to the top of West Bond. I got to West Bond and I happened upon two ladies and I was chatting with them. They brought a stadium chair, one of those little, just the front and the back of they were drinking wine.
Nice.
And I'm like, and where are you from? Blah, blah, blah. Lo and behold, they only live 5 miles away from my house.
Small world.
Right? I know I feel safe. And I have a whistle. There are, shady looking people out there, but not really. Everybody's out in the woods. You end up on the summit of a mountain and there's like 150 people there. Everybody had to hike 8 hours to get there. I don't think anybody's going to do anything wrong.
It would take a lot of energy
A lot
to
of
put
energy.
yourself in that position.
Yeah. You put yourself in trouble if you're not prepared.
Yes. Yeah. So Steve mentioned, if you're not looking at the chat, that there's a Facebook group called the 4,000 Footers, and you can see hiking stories there too. And then Deb asked, I missed this earlier, so my apologies, Deb. I'm doubling back to your question. What was your most challenging hike, not just for difficulty?
I was going through a challenging time of my life, and I had planned a vacation. I planned my vacations in February, and whatever happens by June, I'm on my vacation in June. So it was June and it's time for my vacation, and there was so much weight on my shoulder, all these things going on. And I went on in. I'm gonna do the 7-hour hike to the campsite, and I'm gonna hike 7 hours out. Yeah. Well, I get 4 hours in. Not only was the backpack uneven on my back, the weight of all my burdens just weighed heavily. My head wasn't in the game. I was just struggling. And I had only started to climb the mountain. It was 4 hours and I still had 3 to go. And I sat down defeated in this dry riverbed and I cried. No one anywhere. I cried. And then I said to myself, I got 3 hours to go so that I can camp and then hike out again, or turn around and go 4 hours out and I don't have to do this again. So I turned around and I went 4 hours back with a little bit of lilt in my foot because I felt better making that decision. I'm not doing this. This is not the right day. This is not the right time. The mountains are always there. They'll always be there. And I can do it again. I've done that hike again.
That's
It always
amazing.
comes back. But that day that I cried, that was tough. It's nothing about hiking is easy. It's the bragging rights. It's the view. It's the being out there in nature. It's everything else. It's not easy, but it is terrific.
Yeah, I think that's a really good perspective. I just, sometimes it's not the right day. Sometimes it's not the right moment, and it's okay to do it a different day, right?
It's
That's
okay.
really nice. Yeah, it's a nice perspective. So I think we have one last question. So when you stop at night, do you bring a book or anything to do? Or are you just so tired that it's just sleep and then you wake up
Oh,
in
I'm
the morning?
super ambitious. I bring a magazine and I bring a journal. Out of all
Nice.
the stuff you don't need to bring. But I do bring the magazine because also if you finish reading it, you can use it to sit on it instead of sitting on a cold rock. So I bring the magazine so in case I want to read it. And I bring the journal because everything's worth writing it down.
Nice. I like that. So we're at time. So just want to make sure I don't have any burning questions before I let you go. My only question. So you mentioned going hut to hut, right? So obviously I'm completely unaware of like the types of hikes and things that are out there. So hut to hut, is that something that's like, it seems like it's much more predefined or something? Are you doing, is this like part of the?
You can contact the Appalachian Mountain Club, and they have huts that a bunch of people can sleep in them. And you're sleeping in bunks, shared bedrooms, shared bathroom. You're sitting at you eat family style at a big table with all these people you don't know when you walk in, but when you walk out, you know most of these people. And
Right.
you can go. They're all spaced out a day's hike from each other in the White
Oh, that's
Mountains of
awesome.
New Hampshire.
That's amazing. That's really helpful. Okay, on my to-do list in the next couple of years. Perfect. So first, I just want to say thank you so much. This was incredibly informative, really helpful, really practical, entertaining, funny. I mean, this was amazing. So I really, really, really want to thank you for your time. This was awesome. And I also want to thank the alumni office for having me again. You keep having me back. I will keep coming as long as you invite me. Thank you again to Kate and to Alexis. And Alexis, I'll turn it back to you.
Right. Thank you very much for having me too. This has been really fun.
Good job, Kate.
Yay.
I'm on mute. Thank yous right back at you, Rob. We really enjoy having you here, and you always do a great job facilitating the question and answer. So thank you so much for that. And Kate, thank you so much for taking the time to share your stories and your expertise. And I am going to give a shout out to BSU's own Steve Thomas for all of his help today and his insights that he was able to put in. Thank you, Steve.
You're welcome.
A great part of our BSU community and a great alum. So we appreciate it, Steve, and thank you for recommending Kate to do this Aluminar. If anyone has any additional questions or they think of anything else after the fact, or if you're going hiking in the future and you think you want to ask Kate something, you can always just reach out to us at alumni@bridgew.edu and I can direct the question over to Kate. I'm sure she'll be happy to share her knowledge with you at any time. So please keep that in mind. And I also would love for you to consider attending our next Aluminar, which will be on May 19th. It's entitled Creating a Magnetic Personal Brand. And it's a discussion with Liz Teresa, who is graduate class of 2011. Registration will open on that in the next few days, and notifications and links about that Aluminar will be sent via email, monthly newsletter, and will be on social media as usual. So please look out for those. And on behalf of the entire Alumni Relations Office, we thank you for taking the time to join us today on this beautiful sunny Wednesday. We're finally getting some good weather out there. And we hope each and every one of you enjoy the rest of your afternoon, have continued health and happiness, and we look forward to seeing you at future Aluminars and in-person events. Homecoming 2021 coming up. Save the date.
I'll be there.
October 23rd.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.